So let's get real here. This year in movies has been pretty mediocre. Some would even say underwhelming. This year's movies have been quieter than Horizon's box office numbers. General interest in movies are down, box office numbers are down, and overall it just seems like a pretty, bland year. But despite all that, there are some movies that I saw that I thought were great, that I thought were wonderful. So here are the top 10 movies I saw this year that I thought were awesome. So here they are in no particular order. First up, I want to talk about The Last Stop in Yuma County. Man, this movie was awesome. For the first half of this movie, I was kind of like, this is pretty good. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's fine. And then halfway through the movie, an explosive moment happens that literally made me gasp and put my hand over my mouth and go, holy shit. It went from like, this is fine to like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? If you like the Coen brothers or, to a certain extent, Tarantino, and you haven't seen this movie, this needs to be on your watch list immediately. It has quirky characters, witty dialogue. It's violent. It takes a bunch of characters in a room and you can see tensions boiling until it all explodes. And it's a wonderful movie and kind of a sleeper hit. This wasn't on my radar at all, and I sat down to watch it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best movies I've seen this year. So if you haven't checked out Last Stop in Yuma County, I highly recommend it. It's available to rent and buy right now on VOD, and I hope you watch it. I hope everyone gets the chance to watch this. I think it's great, and I hope you enjoy it. Next up is In a Violent Nature. When I did my review for this movie, I said that this movie kind of emotionally exhausted me. I thought it was an emotionally exhausting movie, and people can tease me all the fuck they want, but I stand by that. I remember walking out of the theater for this movie and being like, oh my God, what an experience. It's unlike anything I've ever seen in the slasher genre. And just when you think you've seen it all, someone comes along with, not necessarily a brilliant idea, but just thinking outside the box, and we get something like this, which is a movie that takes the point of view of the slasher killer. We get to watch him walk around the woods, killing people in very grotesque and violent ways. And I thought it was amazing. I thought it was an incredible movie, and it was just one hell of a horror experience. And also, on top of that, I also said in my review that it has one of the best kills I think I've ever seen in a horror movie, and I also stand by that. I know a lot of Terrifier fans, got on my case in the comments, but man, I don't know. The kill in this movie is clever, it's unique, it's unlike anything I've ever seen, and overall, I thought this movie was fantastic. Next up is Dev Patel's directorial debut, Monkey Man. Yeah, man, this movie rules. This movie rules. It has heart, it has grit, it has some exciting action sequences. That climax, like the last 20 minutes, is balls to the walls, shaky cam, fucking bananas. It is fantastic, but it's also fueled by emotion and drama and revenge. Like it's a really, really awesome movie. And the story behind it, if you don't know, like a lot of shit went down in this movie. Like, they lost a lot of their crew. Dev Patel got hurt. They had trouble financing until Jordan Peele came in, and to see the overall package of what he delivered, I mean, it's fantastic. It is one of the best action movies I've seen this year, and he deserves all the applause in the world. If you have not checked out Monkey Man and you're an action fan, especially if you like things like John Wick or the Bourne series, like if you just like to watch if you like to watch that kind of shit, then Monkey Man is a must-watch. Next up is a movie that needs no introduction, and that is surprise, surprise, Dune Part 2. I mean, yeah, man, this movie came out in March. Everyone's talked about it. It is fantastic. Believe the hype. It is big. It is grand. It is on a scale like we typically don't see before. It is, visually stunning. It has amazing action set pieces, great performances, an engrossing story. I mean, overall, Dune Part 2 is just like a complete package. And it sucks that like this movie kind of got sucked into like culture war bullshit. And unfortunately, this is not the only movie on my list that kind of got caught up in all this. But at the end of the day, it's a blast of a movie. I wish this movie could just stay in theaters forever so I could just go watch it. Same with like Top Gun Maverick. I wish there are certain movies that come out where you're like, man, I wish this movie could just stay in theaters for a long time so I can just kind of revisit it whenever I want. Because seeing this movie on an IMAX screen was like a spiritual experience. It was incredible. So yeah, Dune Part 2 is amazing. It's easily one of the best films of the year, if not the best film of the year. I think this movie is the movie to beat. And and for good reason. Next up is Mars Express. And man, what a find. What a find. I'm so glad I found this movie. I said in my review that if there's one movie that's competing with me right now with the best movie of the year between Dune, this is it. I'm dead serious. This movie I thought was amazing. It's 90 minutes. It's a sci-fi animated film. It has heavy sci-fi ideas and cool concepts. The animation style is awesome. It's very adult. You know, I don't think this movie is going to be like, you know, a cultural touchstone like Akira or Ghost in the Shell. But I think that the more people watch this, I do believe this will be a cult classic. And I hope it does. I hope everyone gets a chance to watch this. I think it's incredible. Like I said, it's only 90 minutes and it's a lot of fun as an engrossing story, a sci-fi story. It's a sci-fi mystery. It takes place on Mars about a private detective trying to solve a murder. I'm going to leave it at that. But yeah, it's incredible, man. I really love this movie, and I highly suggest it. If you've never heard of this, go in blind. I ended up buying it, but you can rent or buy it. So please check this one out. It's incredible. It's amazing. God damn, it is hot in my apartment. Woo! Next up is Late Night with the Devil. Man, just when you thought the found footage genre was dead, you fucking buried it, you stuck a stake through it and said, all right, we're done. We're done with found footage. Someone comes along and just changes the whole thing and has a new idea. And just like in A Violent Nature, someone comes along and completely thinks outside the box. And this movie is one of those movies. You know, it's basically, you're basically watching a late night talk show, like the entirety of a late night talk show. The kicker is that it takes place on Halloween night, and the host is going to interview a little girl who claims to be possessed, and needless to say, shit gets wild, and it's a lot of fun. It really is. It's a movie that the moment it started to the moment it ended, it had my full attention. I was sitting forward in my seat. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? And it's a slow build, and it keeps building and building until we get to that batshit insane climax, which a lot of people, you know, criticize for being a little too wacky, but I ate it all up. I thought it was a lot of fun. My only critique is that the ending kind of gets a little too surreal, but when shit starts to hit the fan towards the end, I was like, yes, this is amazing. It's a great horror film. I think it's available on Shudder right now, so if you haven't got a chance to check this one out, I highly recommend this one. That is Late Night with the Devil. All right, next up is probably the most controversial one on my list, I'm gonna guess, and that is Civil War. And listen, guys, you can say this or that, but you know, at the end of the day, it's just my opinion, and in my opinion is I loved this movie. I actually went and saw it twice. I just like point A to point B movies. I think they're fascinating, and I like little vignettes, and you get to meet new people, and they get in tense situations. Like, I like all that stuff, and the fact that where it ends with like this big battle in Washington D.C. was unlike anything I've ever seen before, and the direction was great. I like Alex Garland a lot. I think Men was the only one I was kind of like, I don't know about this one, but yeah, I thought this movie was fantastic, and you know, it just sucks that this movie got swept up in the culture war stuff, just like Dune did. But you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? People need rage bait fucking YouTube videos, so you can't stop it. It's just the nature of the business. But no, I really liked Civil War. I thought it was fantastic, and I can't wait to rewatch it. And speaking of Jesse Plemons, now we move on to Kinds of Kindness. Man, this movie is deranged. It's wild. It was not at all what I was expecting. I actually didn't even know it was an anthology movie. The movie is basically 3 short films stitched together. They're kind of related-ish, but it's Yorgo Lanthimos doing his weird shit, and if you like his stuff, then you're going to feel right at home here. Jesse Plemons gives the performance of a fucking lifetime. It is the best performance he's ever had. Emma Stone is still doing fucking God's work with her performance. She's incredible. All 3 of those stories I thought to be pretty damn fun and captivating in their own ways. Some of them are a little familiar, but he takes the familiar and does his Yorgos fucking weird thing, and I loved it. It is 3 hours long, so just be prepared for that. It is something you need to be prepared for and take a chunk out of your day to watch it. But I promise, if you give the movie your time, give the movie your 3 hours, I think you're gonna have a blast. Next up is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Yeah, I mean, who wasn't excited for this movie? I mean, if you're a fan of Fury Road, you all bought tickets just as I did to see it opening night, and I thought it was fantastic. And yes, the elephant in the room, it is not as good as Fury Road, at least in my opinion, but, you know, Fury Road is one of the best action films of all time, so it's really kind of hard to compete with that. And also, Furiosa is kind of just its own thing, and, you know, I appreciate it for being its own thing. I didn't really get that on my first viewing. I was kind of actually a little disappointed because I was expecting, like, a Fury Road Part 2, but, you know, it is not Fury Road Part 2. And when I went back and watched it a second time, I was able to enjoy it for what it was, and it's amazing. Anya Taylor-Joy fucking kills it. The action scenes are incredible. That chase scene in the desert with the paragliders, it was like jaw-dropping. It was so good. Chris Hemsworth is hamming it up. He was phenomenal. The visuals are stunning. Yeah, it's a great movie, and I can't believe George Miller is still making these. He's like fucking, what, 115? God bless the man. I hope he keeps making these, although it sounds like he's not, but, you know, if there is a God, we will get another Mad Max movie by George Miller, and let's hope that is the case. And last, and certainly not least, Richard Linklater's Hitman. God, you know, it's funny, I look at my list and it's like drama, horror, crime. Hitman deserves to be on the list because it's so fucking charming. You're smiling, you're laughing, and Glenn Powell, everyone wants to be him, everyone wants to be with him. Glenn Powell is a goddamn movie star, and he shines here. Absolutely shines. I cannot wait for Twisters. But no, this movie is funny, it's romantic, it's sexy, it has some really heavy themes, which I wasn't really expecting. Themes of like identity, and are we able to actually change our personalities? Is that even possible? This movie goes places that I wasn't really expecting, and overall this movie was just a lot of fun. You know, this is probably the most fun I've had all year. I mean, Fall Guy gets pretty close, but I feel like Fall Guy really falls apart in like the last 30 minutes. But Hitman, from start to finish, solid, you know, funny, charming, sexy, hilarious. Hitman, I loved it. So yeah, those are my top 10 picks so far this year. Obviously we're only halfway, so I'm assuming my list will probably change by December, but those are my top 10 so far. And please let me know in the comments, like, what are your top 10? This isn't just about me. Yes, I'm on camera. Yes, you're listening to me right now, but, you know, this is what I love about doing this, is I get to talk to you. You get to recommend things to me, some things that I haven't seen. So, you know, I would love to know, what are your top 10 movies? Do you hate my top 10 movies? Do you think my list is garbage? Please let me know in the comments. I would love to chit-chat with you and discuss movies as always. And until the next time, well, I will see you on Long Legs.